Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. Live at Drew's house, another edition. Drew Moholland, Sarah Conway. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
We're coming off another heat wave. The next few days are supposed to get a little bit cooler, in the 70s, I hear.
Good.
Yeah, it kind of feels pleasant, doesn't it? 77 one day, that feels about perfect.
That sounds good. Humid though, because it's the humidity that's like the worst.
It's not the heat, but it's the humidity. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I have the iced coffee. Did you not do a coffee today?
I'll take yours.
Oh, okay. You did my ponytail again. I see this hair is elusive again. It seems to be the one hair that can't tuck it in, maybe? Tuck it into the...
That's a good idea.
I'm good with stuff like that.
No. It won't stay behind your ear.
No. I'll figure it out, though.
Yeah, you got to figure something out because that's going to annoy people.
I got the long... It's going to annoy you. I got the long beard going, too.
I won't watch the show.
You won't be able to watch.
No.
Well, that's sad. You'll at least watch your part, I'm sure. That's not better. We can figure this out, can't we? This is entertaining. Entertaining for the people. What's new with you? Anything good?
Nothing good, I wouldn't say.
Still in a pandemic.
Still in a pandemic.
Yeah, I don't really know what the deal is with your school. You're going to go back, I hear? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
There's no good answer. And
day-by-day approach?
It's very clear that neither of the options are good. So.
Well, there we go. How about, did you watch any of the Bruins games so far here? I know you're a big Bruins fan. They played game one the other night. After the 5 overtime Lightning game. Very exciting. Game 2 is tonight.
Oh, good. So you'll be watching that by yourself.
Well, I could. Playoff hockey. Exciting.
I can't believe hockey is this like a long season for them?
Well, no, because they have to stop it because of the pandemic.
Oh.
So they're restarting it. Crazy. Bizarre. 2020 living. That's what it is. Red Sox are still bad at Fenway Park. That's not good. I miss going into Fenway. How many times have I said that in the last month?
Yeah, you have said that a lot.
I miss it. It doesn't feel like summer unless I can go into Fenway a couple times. That's the other thing, too. We get the John Keller was great the other day. Did you catch that show? I know you left before we brought John in, but did you see some of that?
I did, yeah. He was very good.
Great guy. Smart. Did a good job with the debate. Did exactly what he was going to told me to do. Told me he was going to do. Let the two of them go back and forth. That got a little testy, too. Some of those clips, the Kennedy Markey was not exactly a friendly debate there. I know those two have a lot of respect for each other, but they went after each other a little bit.
Yeah.
You expect that, I guess.
Yeah, it's a debate. That's pretty normal. So who are you going to vote for?
You know I won't answer that. You probably won't either.
I think they're both good candidates, so I don't think we'll wrong with either of them.
It is a weird situation, though, where you have an incumbent who's been here for so long, and let's be honest, he's so very well liked in the state. I mean, to hold the seat like that in Massachusetts for so long, it's impressive, no matter how you look at it. And but Kennedy's, all the polls say Kennedy's pushing him, so we will see how it all plays out. Very exciting political stuff. It's we were just watching some of the White House press conference. It's like every day there's something new. Oh, a big news of the week. What am I thinking? Not starting with this. Kamala Harris. What are your thoughts on that as a woman having it's just breaking so many barriers?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it makes this campaign a lot stronger. So.
You think it makes Biden's campaign a lot stronger?
Yeah,
well, that's
definitely.
Good
She definitely brings some energy where he can be a little. He's tough. Every time he gets up there, I'm a little nervous about what he's going to say, although I really do like Biden.
What did the president, he calls him, what, Sleepy Joe, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the reputation. But I think their first time kind of talking together, she did a nice job of reminding, I think, everyone of why he's so great.
Yeah.
So she really kind of boosted him up, I think.
She's a very big bus.
She's a big bus?
They gave her a big bus, a big campaign bus.
That's what you have to say about her? She has a big bus?
That's the last thing I saw before we came on the show. It's a big bus, and it says Kamala right on it.
Is that how you pronounce her name?
I think I said it wrong. Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
I'm actually going to I realized I've tripped up on that a couple times.
I realized, I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, just speaking, and once you start saying it a lot, I think it, sometimes you slip up with it. We'll get it. It's just, it is. It's a name you don't say too often. But that will all change very soon. Somebody said that actually Biden, I think, said it in that speech we were watching about how inspiring it must be for young girls waking up this morning and how the world has changed. And I think that's definitely true, don't you?
Yeah, definitely think so. I think it would be great to have a woman president, but if she can't be president, vice president is great as well.
And then who knows down the line? Of course, there's been a lot of talk about that as well. So that was the political portion of our show here today. And now we bring in sports writer for, well, I guess you see him on several stations here, WBZ TV. You see him on 98.5 The Sports Hub. I've seen him on several TV stations, the NBC Sports Network. Michael Hurley is joining us. Michael Hurley, how are you, sir? All right, so Michael Hurley. So let me ask you here. I just listed off a bunch of. I've seen you everywhere over the last couple of years. You've been. I remember you from the WBZ newsroom, and then you were popping up on my TV and all that good stuff. You've been a busy man.
I have. I have to say, it all stems from the Deflategate. Like, hell yeah, thank you, Deflategate. That really gave me a platform. But no, that kind of got me started on the radio at the Sports Hub because I was working in both buildings back when we were all one big happy family. Got to go and get yelled at by Felger a lot. And then I did a lot of work with what was Comcast Sportsnet and is now NBC Sports Boston.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. It's hard to keep track. But obviously since the world stopped, there's not been a lot of radio, video, anything. So I got the corner of the basement. That's the spot.
There you go. I had Marty Walsh, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh on, and he had it's a much nicer background. The Boston City Hall is not a nice looking backdrop. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but his office is not it's not made for TV.
Well, it's fitting to the entire building then, because the building is what it is. So yeah, no, I redid my basement as part of the I'm stuck at home. It's March and April. So I finally finished. And so there's some decorating needs to be done, but we're getting there.
Very good. Let's start in general, though. I mean, obviously the world has changed. How has quarantine been? You actually got a young one running around too, right?
Two little ones, yeah.
Two little ones. My goodness.
So just to reiterate, I built a new room in the basement with a door that shuts because work just got. I mean, you know how it is working in a newsroom. You're used to working in a chaotic, loud environment with like phone calls and everything going on, but at a certain point when the PBS is blaring and the kids are yelling and crying and like there's spills and messes, it's definitely, I mean, actually it's like the same as working in a newsroom. It's just you're more familiar with the people, but yeah, it's what everyone's going through. So it's been unique, but I do think people working in media were prepared to work in the mayhem of home.
I would agree. I would say that the last like 48 hours here with the Bruins getting back to actual playoff hockey, you get the Red Sox. If you can bear to watch those guys right now, you can watch some baseball. It does give you a little bit of feeling of normal. Bruins won their playoff game yesterday, game 2 tonight. What's your take on the Boston Bruins right now?
I think they had a lot to show because they obviously kind of, I don't want to say meandered through their round robin games, but they didn't really up the intensity. There was about 20 minutes against Tampa where they were kind of stoked up, like from playing Tampa. I think they hate that team, and the Lightning brought it out of the Bruins for a little, but overall the Bruins kind of took those round robin games as if they really didn't matter, and they kind of don't, with no home ice, no travel, all that. So they had a lot to show where they could actually back it up and say, we didn't care about those. Now we're going to try. I think their effort in game 1, even though it was a close game, they were clearly, they dominated play. There was one point in overtime where the shots were like 39-21 in the game, and I think that was indicative. They got the win, which was necessary, and I think it's so important. I had the series going 7. And that's, that's assuming they lose games like that. So if they win games like that, they have a chance to actually get through this a little bit quicker, possibly. But I'm not counting on anything in the post-COVID sports time. I don't think anything's a sure thing.
What's it like for a guy like you who's used to, being at all these games up there in the press box? It must be incredibly weird. I picture you, I'm sure maybe you get a little bit more comfortable, but I picture you sitting down there in that basement watching a hockey game. It's kind of depressing for me. What's it like?
Yeah, it has, some pros and cons. I think the best time, I've been lucky. I started this job 10 years ago, basically. So to be covering Boston sports during that decade of Super Bowl basically every other year, I've been to 3 Stanley Cup finals. I've been to 2 World Series. Like, it's just an absurd time to cover sports in this town. Like, I don't, cover it when the Cardinals and the whoever, the Orioles, they don't make the World Series. You know what I mean? It's just to be in this town and to drive into Boston and go to these games is ridiculous. So my favorite time every year is when it starts to get hot, like not warm, but hot, like mid-May, and you're going to the Garden, you get a nice coffee, you're sweating, like you're ruining your dress shirt because it's just like a 96-degree humid day, but you don't care because you're going to a hockey game. You know it's going to be great. Losing out on that obviously sucks. I think that's just a reality of the way. It's a small price to pay given what everyone is, but like from a sports perspective, not being able to have that like 90-degree drive where, again, not to harp on Felger, but like Felger and Maz just complaining about the Bruins as you go to the game, like that's a special feel. So missing out on that definitely stinks. But given how long we went without sports, this is pretty great. I'm not complaining about my little hut in the corner for sure.
Yeah, 11 a.m. start to a hockey game is not the worst thing in the world. I work odd hours, so it fits for me. I don't know if the normal working person enjoyed it.
I'll tell you, we're going to work, the game 1 when it was scheduled, and I had played golf that morning at 5:50 in the morning, and I was like, you know what, 8 o'clock start. I'll be a little tired, but I'll get to the midnight. It'll be fine. And then as the Tampa-Columbus game just kept going and going, I was like, oh my God, this game's going to start at 10:30. I'm going to be up until 4. I'm going to be nauseous for the next 3 days. So the 11 a.m. start time, big fan of that.
I am too, but give me that any day of the week. I know most people are disagreeing with me right now. But by the way, are we wearing awkwardly the same shirt here?
Didn't notice. Little bit different, but mine. If yours costs like $5, then yes, we're wearing the same thing.
And my wife bought this for me. I rarely buy the shirts for myself. But sorry, are you going to chime in on that?
I was wearing maybe like a nasty tank top, and I said, you know what, I don't think anyone wants to see that, so I put on sleeves. Oh, you actually went to I got to be honest with you, I was doing the same exact thing. Yeah, I've been home for 6 months, so. This was our throw-on shirt at the last minute. I actually missed the button right in the middle, which is a true story. As I was logging on the Zoom, I realized I was unbuttoned, so. Okay. It's just quarantine life. By the time the show ends, we will have it together. So you like the Bruins, and you like it still 7 or? You know what? Game 2 is going to be big because, we'll find out, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cassidy goes to Halak and net because really, just he kept both options open after the game, after game 1, because the back-to-back, he was quick to note it's an 11 o'clock game. It's not like 8 p.m. It's a little extra time to rest. Tuukka didn't get overworked. He said there was no long possessions in our end, so the goalie didn't really get dehydrated and exhausted, which is pretty, good stuff for a post-game press conference from Zoom. But he's a pretty honest guy, right? He's like one of the most coaches we've had in the city, I think. Yeah, he's just a dude. Like Bruce Cassidy is just a dude. He's not like we're used to PR spokesman sort of standing at the podium. John Farrell, never again, please. Yeah, John Farrell was a PR spokesman. I think. You get it. Obviously, Bill Belichick is not a PR spokesman, but you get the idea. But Halak didn't look great when he played when Rask had the cough in the first round robin game. So it'll be interesting to see. And just because if it was March and Tuukka played at 12, I think he could play at 8 the next day with no travel. But it's not March; it's August. They haven't played that level, and a double overtime game is still a double overtime game. So. It's going to be interesting on both ways because, the Hurricanes are in the same position. So I think the game 2, the point of this is the game 2 is impossible to predict, but whatever happens after that is going to tell you what's going to happen in the series. Luckily, the Bruins do have Halak's a very dependable backup, so they do have that benefit to go to him. And the Hurricanes' backup is James Reimer, whose playoff history against the Bruins who has kept him up many a night, I'm sure. So fun fact right there. Maple Leafs. Yeah. He's in Toronto now, so it's gonna feel way too uncomfortable to be up against the Bruins in the playoffs if Brendan Moore has to go to that.
These I heard Anson Carter say on the coverage the other night, and it does make sense to me that these guys. I mean, you do notice the crowd when you're playing in these playoff games. So the game is just moving so fast. It's not basketball where, like, you're slapping hands with the guy, maybe the guy in the front row on the way up and down the court. It's, your head's on a swivel and it's a fast-moving game. Once you get into it, the play really is not going to be affected by the lack of crowd noise. I mean, are you pretty much landing on that side as well?
Yeah, but I think there's something, and anyone that's been to a playoff hockey game in an arena knows the swell of noise and like the power that can have. And granted, in of all the sports, home ice means less than all the other ones because you see it every year. There's upsets. It really doesn't dictate. I mean, we don't need to bring up Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final as evidence of that. But there is something to just energy, and I think when you have an 11 a.m. game. There might be periods where it's just not the right feel that you're used to. And I think that goes with everything that these guys are doing in the bubble. Nothing feels comfortable. Nothing feels normal. So I suppose it just goes along with that. So, yeah, I don't think it's like, when you're on a 3-on-2 rush that you don't feel the energy. It's more just the building and the buzz and the excitement. I think they must feel sort of like they're in an experiment to some extent when it's like, the lulls, you're going for a face-off and it's just silent. That's got to be a little bit weird, but again, it's weird for both sides, and there's no advantage or disadvantage in it.
Best hockey game, maybe the best sporting event I ever. Maybe you were at this game too. Game 7, Lightning Bruins, that 1-0.
I wasn't at that one. No,
Yeah, so I was in the balcony for that game. Certainly the best hockey game I ever saw. Probably the best sporting event. And there's no way the crowd didn't. No, I'm just kidding. That had nothing to do with the crowd.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to be there.
It's funny because there's a lot. I was covering Game 7 against the Maple Leafs in 2013, and I left that night and I said I will never see a sporting event as great as that one. Like the environment, the atmosphere, everything. And then of course a couple years later, I'm in Houston for Super Bowl 51, and I'm like, well, I gotta slot the Bruins first round Game 7 down 1 because. So it's like that speaks to the ridiculousn's of this whole era. And
we're spoiled. I think we're about the same age. I'm 33.
I just turned 34.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I had that pegged. So I have like younger cousins, like a younger cousin just getting out of college. He like literally does not know what it's like to like not win championships.
Yeah, he doesn't know what it's like to have a Ray Bourque parade when the Avalanche win. He doesn't know what it's like to just be miserable at Fenway, and that's a shame about this year is that the misery at Fenway would be so palpable and wonderful. Like, if you're from that, if you grew up in the 90s where you had so they won the AL East in 95 and they got smoked by the Yankees in 99, but they were never really contending or anything. Like the misery and pain, like it would be, I would love to pay $1.50 for a bleacher ticket this year and just sort of like soak in the misery, but that's, again, another loss we have this year, yet again.
I feel like it takes pressure off, like, ownership because I almost think that they know they could get away with putting this kind of product on the field. I don't even – like, I'm a baseball guy. Like, it's probably hockey and baseball 1 and 1A, but, like, I love the game. I don't know who's pitching. I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, Eckersley said that on the broadcast. I think it was last night. He's like, man, you got to go to baseballreference.com to find out who's pitching for the Red Sox. And it's like he's on the team network saying that. So I do think it is good that the season is happening because otherwise ownership and management, really management, would have been completely off the hook for the situation they're in. At least now it's playing out on TV. It would be deeper and more passionate if people were shelling out, $300 to bring their family to a Red Sox game and Zach Godley or Ryan Weber was starting and the game's over in the second inning. So they're definitely still getting off a little bit, but it is happening. It is playing out and it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good.
It really doesn't. And you're right. I mean, I do think there's something to, that not being in the stands, but it's like all these years leading up to this. I mean, it's got to drive you crazy as a fan when you're selling out that. I know there's more to it than just selling out baseball games. It's a big market. Yeah. Salary caps, all that stuff. Mistakes over the past year. Wow. Mookie, easy.
Smokes.
Hang on 1 second.
There's someone who's mad about the Red Sox.
That is apparently a Red Sox anger right there.
I thought someone broke into your house and was threatening you.
I usually will warn the guests that could happen because they try to be a part of the show. Usually at this hour, it does not happen.
But I got kind of scared.
How about that? I think it's Red Sox anger. Anyway, moving on. Thank you, Mookie. But no, it's going to drive you crazy as a fan who pays that much money to come to these games over all these years. I mean, I'm kind of annoyed by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the way I break it down in the simplest form is this is the post-Dombrowski effect. I think this is when they hired Dombrowski and basically said, Ben, you can be his, errand boy if you want. And Charrington was like, really? Like, no, thank you. So what was that, 2015 in the summer? It was like August of 2015, I think. Yeah. So you know what you're going to get. You're going to get high-priced free agent signings. They offered David Price, $40 million more than the Cardinals did. So high-priced, and then you get stars. So they get Craig Kimbrell. They acquire stars, and you don't build a deep bullpen. You don't build a healthy farm system. And from the Red Sox perspective, they got a World Series out of it. So from that, standpoint, I guess it's a win. Did you
like him, by the way? Was Price easy to get along with, or what was the deal with him? Because obviously he had some issues, but you do hear some people who were like, he was always good to me.
No, I mean, I didn't cover the Red Sox on like a regular basis or anything. I'd show up for the playoffs because of the nature of my job as a web content generator. But no, I mean, personally, I not even like a media thing. I just thought his disposition and his attitude was very poor.
Very good.
Yeah, but I think, you get what you get with it. And so you got the World Series out of it, and now you're stuck with this after. And I think it's no surprise that they bring in a guy like Chaim Bloom to sort of build it up from scratch, because people want to be like, oh, you traded Mookie, you're cheap. They're not cheap. They're just money is just they're just spending it. I mean, Pablo Sandoval is getting paid this year. They lucked out that Price didn't play due to COVID, but they'd be paying him $16 million. Like there's so much wasted money that it just led them to sort of hit this bottoming out. I think it's certainly not a matter of being cheap. It's just mismanagement over the course of 4 or 5 years. You got to reset and figure it out again.
Liverpool won though.
Yeah, which I guess they hadn't. I'm not a football guy by any means. So I was surprised to learn that they hadn't won that before.
Yes, the big drought.
Yeah. So I mean, as long as one of them's winning, I guess. And that's the thing. You talk about us in like the 90s growing up. Imagine being 2 years removed from a World Series victory for the Red Sox and having any complaint. Like, times have changed so crazy. It's really crazy, but that's who we are now. So it's championships or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's been as much as, the sports radio is killing the ownership. I actually think, how can you complain? It's a few championships under the regime. It's crazy to complain, really, if you really look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I understand when people get upset with John Henry or any of the press conferences they've had where, like, they tell you that Pablo Sandoval has, like, a 7% body fat ratio and things like that, where it's just sort of like, come on, like, just let's be honest about it. So it hasn't been perfect. I still think we could go, we're going to do 20 years of Red Sox right moves and wrong moves, but whether it's, getting rid of Francona for Robbie Valentine, or getting rid of Lester.
Did that work out, or?
I mean, it depends on your definition of working out. But no, the Lester, swap, and it's just there's a lot of things. But I mean, no one's perfect, and they've delivered 4 World Series, which is a silly notion 20 years ago. So
pretty crazy. Let's do it. We pretty much whipped around here. Let's do Celtics thoughts. They win it all. Yes.
Yeah.
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 Perfect. We'll leave it at that. All right. I think the Revolution are eliminated. Yes, all this bubble stuff is absolutely crazy. Like, I mean, what are like the sports writers talking about when they talk about like the future of covering games? Like, we have to wait till there's a vaccine. Is it going to be bubbles? I mean, college football seems to be dropping like flies right now. This is craziness.
It really, I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday, and it's like, when are we going to get to the point of being in like that stuffy 60-person scrum, just like desperately holding your recorder, like, oh, this is terrible. Like, maybe we don't get back to that, and that's good. But obviously what we're doing now, like, I was trying to ask Bergeron a question after the game today. I clicked raise hand, and, they ran out of time. And it's like, there's like, it's weird. They can't see us. You're just sort of a voice in the sky asking bad questions. So it's definitely weird. I feel like the bubbles were ambitious ideas. I'm surprised that they got professionals to agree to leave their families for long stretches of time. But as to next year, I don't think anyone's there. Like NHL has this bubble idea. It's going to go to what, October?
Yeah.
And then they want to start it. They want to have a full season next year. I mean, it's almost sort of like you got to get through this year. And I mean, it's amazing what they've done. So I think if they're able to figure something out during, the height of this, that they'll be able to figure something out at a later time. But back to normal, I don't know. I mean, I go to a lot of like rock shows where it's general admission and it's just hundreds of people smashed together on the floor. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't even, I went to one just before, everything ended. And I'm like, I can't envision being in that scenario right now. We're so conditioned now to think everyone's a viral threat that we're like at least a year away from that, aren't we?
I'm a live music guy too. That's like what I'm missing the most. Summertime, no concerts. It's killing me. I will say I've done a few drive-in shows. I don't know if you've had that experience yet.
I did a drive-in movie, but not a rock show.
The drive-in concert works. It feels like a concert. You get out, they give you the parking space that you park in and the one to your left. And it's not like you have to sit in your car. You get out, you set up a cooler, you bring your lawn chairs, you stand, you do whatever. That's your spot. So it's a little.
It's just like everything these days. You're kind of like, yeah, this is all right. Okay, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I saw Metallica is doing a.
I'm not sure it works for Metallica.
So it's like a drive-in movie, and they charge $115 for it. So I'm thinking, you know what? Metallica's like, let's do something. Everyone's looking for something to do, and let's make sure we charge them $115. So
yeah, perfect.
Not very magnanimous of the men from Metallica.
See, those rock shows, that's like part of it, though. You want to be like shoulder to shoulder to the next person. Like the drive-in suits more like the folk artist a little bit better.
A little more chill than rock.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think those are some of the artists I've seen. So that part works. I don't know if it works for Metallica, but what has been the most annoying? Well, actually, you said you wanted to ask Patrice a question today and you missed it?
Yeah.
What were you going to ask him? I'll be Patrice. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask because of the same thing we talked about. Like, he's been a part of so many big playoff moments in his career, like an absurd amount of huge playoff games at home on the road. I want to know what it was like to score a double overtime winner in the playoffs in an empty building. Like to not have anyone there. Like, it must have been so strange. I wanted him just to explain that atmosphere. I'm sure he would have been a very nice fellow, as he generally is, and given me, even if it's a bad question, he'll be nice to you. So that's what you gotta love about Patrice.
I'll play Patrice for a minute. Well, Mike, I'll tell you, when you're in that moment, you're just going to, you're with your guys and it's kind of tunnel vision. You're just looking to make the right play. Took a shot on net, puck went in the net, and, you just celebrate with your guys. Yeah, it would have been great to have a whole crowd there cheering for you. Of course, we miss our fans, but it's a big win for us tonight.
That's pretty accurate. That's pretty good. I mean, and there's pros and cons. I remember a few years ago, or many years ago, I guess, maybe like 6-7 years ago, Krejci scored a game winner, or someone scored a game winner, and Krejci went to celebrate. Remember the whole pane of glass fell on his head?
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean,
he was crowd away in game one. Krejci was.
The passes. I did a story on CBS Boston where it just gifs of his passes today, the saucer passes he was sending. The one to DeBrusque when he hit the post. The one, it was a back diagonal pass to Kasha. Like, I've never seen that pass in my life. Like, he was on another level today.
In overtime, right? That's like a dangerous pass. That can go the other way very quickly.
Yeah, and it was tape to tape to a guy who wasn't – it was to space through traffic. Like, some people – Mark Savard was another one. They play the game as if they're watching from level 9 from above, and Krejci is absolutely one of those people.
He definitely is a playoff performer. Somebody actually put on Twitter today – and I don't think it's quite accurate, but it did get me thinking about it. And without having the numbers in front of me, I was like, well, maybe this particular tweet is correct. Just throwing it out there that he could be a Bruins Hall of Famer here with a few more years. And it was an interesting thought thrown out there.
Yeah, I mean, the way I put it, I think he's one of the most underappreciated. I mean, I think Chara is incredibly underappreciated. He's kind of taken for granted because
even like real hockey people sometimes don't appreciate him enough.
Yeah, because he doesn't score. I mean, when you watch it day in, day out, year in, year out, the grind, the effort, the work, like the everything, you don't need to explain to you. With Krejci, the 2 longest playoff runs of our lives, he was the leading scorer. So I think that is significant. The first Stanley Cup since the Bobby Orr era, he was the leading scorer. In 2013, when they got, I guess 2 of the 3 longest now after last year. He was the leading scorer for the team. So I think like that's not nothing. You know, growing up, there weren't runs to the Cup final outside of, what was it, 89, 90 when they, you know, the power went out at the Garden. I was a little bit young for that one. I wasn't staying up late watching. So in terms of Bruins I've experienced, the longest postseason runs, Krejci has been one of the best players. So I think that really says something. He joined the team in what, 06, 07 or 07, 08. So he's certainly up there. I don't think he's going anywhere else anytime soon. So sure, I think, you know, the postseason is what really stands out because, again, similar to talking about the Red Sox winning 4 World Series, just the Bruins going to the Cup final 3 times in a decade is, again, pretty silly.
Yeah, so we both love Krejci. Let's circle back to Bergeron for a second. I always call him, he's probably my favorite athlete here. Fun fact, Ray Bork was my old Little League coach, so I knew Ray pretty well growing up. So he was my favorite, like, young athlete. In my adult life, Patrice is my favorite athlete. And I just think he's like the perfect player, always says the right thing. I get the impression you're a big fan yourself. What's your takeaway on that guy overall encompassing career?
Yeah, I mean, he is the perfect hockey player. I think he's outside of hockey, a very admirable person. I think he is. I mean, there's not a bad thing to say about him. And if there were, someone would have said it by now. Yeah. I think it was Svechnikov in Game 1. Sort of, you know, he kind of wrestled him down and then like did like a little jump on like the back of his head to give him like a little extra forearm to the back of the head. And it's kind of like, no. Like, you do that to anyone, and do it to Brad Marchand, do it to anyone else. But like, you don't touch. Hands off the merchandise. Don't touch Patrice Bergeron. Yeah.
I feel like Chara was probably like lurking in the background. Like, this is not how that happens.
Did you see, by the way, the picture? There was a picture going around on Twitter of just Chara waiting with a big hug for Bergeron after the win. Like, it was real sweet, real touching. Those guys. I mean, how many, getting back to the big games played, like how many big games have those two played together? It's outrageous. So that's got to be a pretty special bond for 2 guys that have been Bruins hockey for, 15 years now.
Yeah, and I mean, as good as this run has been, you know, you have a Stanley Cup. I mean, it will never be looked at as a, you know, it's a great run. Last year, you could argue things kind of fell in line for them a little bit, but you gotta, like, if it ends with just 1 Stanley Cup with these guys, it's almost like, I feel like there should be a little bit more from this group. Like, not that they've disappointed in any way. Every time they get knocked out of the playoffs, it's like you got beat by the better team and they laid it all out there. It's never like stupid mistakes or anything like that. But just if it
I might have to disagree on last year. I think they were a better team than the Blues. They got beat up and they never responded to it. I think they were so focused on playing their game that they didn't play the game they were in. And
don't you feel like that was even for Vancouver though? Like, I thought Vancouver had more talent, and I thought.
Oh yeah. They were the Blues against the Canucks. They beat them up and eventually. But the difference is, if you look at the 11 Cup final, the Bruins outscored Vancouver on Boston ice, 17-4. Like they killed them in Boston, and then when they win Game 7, was it 3-0 or 4-0? Last year when the Bruins in St. Louis scored, I think they outscored them like 14-5. It's just in Boston, they got smothered and smushed and beaten, and I thought that was the missed opportunity, because you go back to 13. Yeah, they were right neck and neck, head to head with the Chicago Blackhawks, but also you lose to the dynastic Blackhawks. You can't, sit here and kick your feet about it. It's part of life when you run into a dynasty. Losing to the St. Louis Blues, and a coach who I don't really think is anything special, and just a goalie who I don't think is anything special, and a team, I think that is the missed opportunity, because who knows what's going to happen this year. Maybe they get to the Cup final. It still won't be the same, but it'll still count. I think last year, if you're going to look at this group as a missed opportunity, it's like, man, you should have beaten the St. Louis Blues.
I hear you. That was definitely a tough loss. Michael Hurley, this has been fun. Why don't tell people where they can find your work? I saw you posting a bunch of stuff today. You're a great Twitter follow too. So if you want to throw that out there.
Well, at your own risk, I'm at Michael F. Hurley. I would, test the waters. Don't necessarily dive right in if it's not for everyone. and everything. There'll be a lot of Bruins coverage and Patriots coverage coming up on CBSBoston.com. So, it was a long 6 months, but now it's like sports overload, which is a good thing. I will not complain about it, though I am, again, to reiterate, so happy that the game moved to 11 in the morning from 11 at night. That was
Does the family give you the space now that sports are kind of flooding back at you all at once? Do you get to go to your little corner here?
That is the weird. Like, I did bill this, but people obviously still come down, my wife or my kids, and it's like, anytime come down, except like, we're in a press conference with Cam Newton right now. And it's like, maybe not now. Like in today, my wife comes down. She's like, oh, can you come look at something? I'm like, Bergeron. Like it's very strange that usually when you're at a professional sports press conference, you are at a professional sports press conference, not in your house. So everyone's dealing with that. I think we've all sort of gotten the hang of it, but it's still never going to feel normal. Or at least I hope it never feels normal. I hope we eventually get back to something different at some point. But yeah, having sort of an open door when you're like actually working, it's strange. But you know what? Sports are back. Can't complain.
Maybe you can get that Patrice question in tomorrow. That's what we're going for.
Maybe. Unless the game gets moved to midnight, and then I'm going to bed.
Oh, come on. What are the chances that happen? It probably could happen again, to be honest.
I mean, they're 2 for 3 in Toronto with games getting delayed. Or actually 2 days in a row, so we'll see. Maybe I think there's only a 3 o'clock game tomorrow, so there's that's the same as game 1. So you know what? I'm just not going to talk about it.
We need to do rapid fire too with you. Do the Bruins actually have a chance of winning the Stanley Cup? That'll be the last real sports related question.
Yeah, and the thing is, I would say is nothing that happened back in pre-COVID matters. So I think they have a chance just like anyone else. I think they lost their advantage that they had being the best team in hockey, rolling the way they were, not even like the standings and stuff like that. Just they lost their momentum. So they're starting from scratch, but yeah, absolutely. They have the ingredients. They're not as good as they were last year. The third line I look at, and it's kind of like, Marcus Johansson was very important to that line. But everywhere else, I think they're okay. They have a couple soft spots on their D, whether it's Lauzon or if Clifton goes in for him. But they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of experience. They have good leadership. They have a great coach. I like their chances. I don't love anyone's chances, but I like their chances.
All right, very good. Here we go. Michael Hurley, WBZ TV and CBS Boston. Rapid fire. You ready?
Sure.
First thing that comes to mind. I think you might have given this away a little bit. Favorite music group?
Thrice.
What was it?
Thrice with TH. Thrice. Best band in the world, most unheralded band in the world. Great band.
That was the first Thrice we've had on this show. That's very good. Best concert you've ever been to?
Oh, boy. I mean, I've seen Thrice like 20-something times, so I will. They're like honorary off. I love seeing Against Me. I would say Against Me at the Paradise. The Paradise is basically the size of my basement. So to see bands I love there basically playing like a living room is incredible. So Against Me at the Paradise 2 years ago, it all blends together.
Good. You dropped in a good venue there. Let's keep the venue theme. What's your favorite place to watch a sporting event?
Favorite place to watch? It's still Fenway. I love, and I've loved being able to go to Gillette to watch a Dynasty play. Don't get me wrong, but Fenway feel like I'm a sucker for it. I'm like, I'm a baseball guy. It's like, it's in my blood and my hair and my fingernails. So Fenway's still the winner.
Me too. No concerts and no Fenway in the summertime. I am a little bit, I'm getting that like kind of weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. What was the favorite class in school?
Not applicable. I don't know. You know what? I'll go to college. I minored in philosophy, which isn't very applicable to like getting a job maybe, but I liked the brain workout that you get from philosophy. I think you sort of train your brain to just constantly navigate avenues that you might otherwise not be navigating. So I'll just, I don't have like a favorite philosopher or anything. So I don't have I forgot most of it. It's just more the activity and the exercise. So
all right. I like that. Good answer. What's the favorite Boston athlete you've ever covered?
I mean, it's going to be like obvious, but covering Tom Brady is such a That's something when I'm like 80, I'll be like, yeah, I used to, ask that guy bad questions after games, win or lose. And I think that's my favorite athlete to cover. But my favorite activity of covering anyone is Belichick. He's not an athlete, but I like the fact that if you ask a bad question, you'll know it and he'll let you know it. So there's a sort of, again, the thinking, you got to sort of navigate all scenarios and try to ask the right question, try to get something. I don't know what my batting average is, but it's about plugging away and trying the next time.
I know like seasoned reporters who are like, if you tell them like they're covering a, Belichick today, which usually means it's, maybe something other than sports, they like cringe, like they don't love that idea. Like, is there any like, maybe nervousness is the wrong word, but is there any like uneasiness about asking that question beforehand? Like, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, definitely to start. I think you get a little bit more comfortable. There was one time it was media night at one of the Super Bowls. What a pretentious thing to say. One of the Super Bowls. I don't remember which one. It was probably the one in Minnesota, I think. He had done a TV special where about his father and the military background and everything. And he comes on screen. He's like, my name is Bill Belichick. And I was like, your name's Bill Belichick? Like, what, like, are you kidding me? So I asked him the question, and I said, Bill, a few months ago, you had a TV special, and, like, that is just, like, don't ask his stare. And I was like, about your father, and he was like, okay, all right. Like you could see all these machinations going on, like, what the hell is this guy getting at, something I said months ago on TV. But actually, yeah, it was an interesting answer, and he gave me a nice answer, and I think anytime you ask about his dad, he's going to appreciate it. So, any
truth to the rumor that, because I've actually heard that he's actually a pretty good guy. This kind of whole thing is kind of an act here for the media.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, at the podium, it is what it is, and I just did a Belichickism by accident. But when you mention like news people being hesitant, it's because they know they have to ask about something he's not going to answer about. So, from my like a sports side, I don't have to grill him about Antonio Brown last year. Like, it's just sort of it's what you're going to get with that. I mean, there's times after losses where you just know he's not going to give you an answer, and you're like, do I pound my head against the wall, or do I just accept it for what it is and go about my life? I don't need this quote to die. Like, I won't die if I don't get this quote. So yeah, absolutely. I think a real quick story is when I was in college, we had an assignment. We had to shadow a professional journalist. And out of the blue, I emailed Mike Reese, who's at ESPN now, but was at the Globe at the time. And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, okay. So he had worked it out ahead of time for after Belichick's Wednesday press conference to say hello. So I'm like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old college student. And Belichick, agrees because he respects Mike Reese so much to just, say hello to some, dumb kid in college. And it's funny because, like, I was awkward, Bill was awkward. We were kind of like, okay, good meeting you. But like that kind of speaks to, like, Bill isn't necessarily what he plays on TV at all times.
Yeah, Mike Reese is great guy,
best guy. I mean, can't say enough good things about Mike Reese.
Big Springsteen. We're both big Springsteen fans. So if you ever want to come to a Bruce show with us,
I don't want to besmirch Bruce Springsteen. I don't mean to. I haven't been able to get it. I understand it. Like, he's a voice of a generation. Every time I put it on, I'm kind of like, it doesn't hit, like I can't make it. I can't force it. I can't lie.
There'll be a time.
Maybe. That's true. I got 2 kids. I'm getting older every day.
Darkness on the edge of town. The kids are too young for that, but I'm saying me.
It might start to hit me in the feels.
Darkness on the edge of town. I can find anybody at any time.
I'll check it out. I'll give it a 9th try.
I won't make the case for Bruce on this show. Don't worry. All right, 2 more rapid fire I wanted to do. Your favorite person, the best person in the WBZ newsroom.
I mean, how do you not pick Dan Roach? I feel like you got to pick Dan Roach because he'll always come in and have, a wisecrack or a smile, and just he always smells nice. He's always clean. I got to pick Dan, and that is not a knock on anyone else in that room. It's just Dan is Dan. You got to love Dan.
Absolutely. And I remember a post that you put on, I think it was, our Facebook friends, Twitter, all that stuff. I can't remember where you put it, but it was something about when you were first getting into the business, you had to kind of you had a crossroads and you either had to go for it or whatever. Maybe you remember the story, but what's the best professional advice you ever got or best professional move you ever made?
I don't remember that story. I got to look into that. That sounds interesting.
And it was something along the lines of like you had to make a decision whether you're going to pursue this business or kind of go elsewhere.
Well, I would say do everything. That's my advice. Do as much as you can, especially now. I mean, I went to school 04 to 08, which might as well be 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But, when I was in school, it was like do the newspaper, do the radio, internet, TV station. I did a PR internship. Like, it was like do everything, because the more well-rounded you are, the more able you're going to be able to do. I mean, in the way that the media business is now, you have to be able to do everything. There's no – I always say, like the idea of, like, writing a story and sending it to an editor and, like, being done with work is so foreign. Like, you have to be the assignment editor, you have to be the photo editor, you have to be the writer, you have to be the headline writer, you have to be the editor. Like, all these – like, you have to be able to do all these things. And anything you can do to build on that is important. I think I think the entry also, like, don't quit on the entry. When I was out of college, it was the recession in 2008. Journalism wasn't thriving in 2008. Newspapers were kind of, and there was, but I covered some local high school sports for $40 a pop. Didn't really, get rich off it, but the experience, like the parallels to covering a local high school game to the Patriots is like very close. Like you have to do the same work. You actually have to work harder to cover the high school game because no one's keeping the stats or anything, and you gotta sort of build this knowledge that you don't have. So no job is too small. No task is beneath you. It's a lot of work, and then once you get in it, keep doing that.
Absolutely, good advice right there. Well, that's great. This was fun, man. I hope you enjoyed it. That's the show.
I enjoyed it, except for when I'm nervous to see with the video what it looked like when the dog barked. I don't think I kept it together too well. Really?
Well, the good news is here with the Zoom software, the camera was probably on me when that happens.
Yes, I hope so.
It happened recently when John Keller was on the show. We were talking about a very serious political subject, and a similar thing happened. And I told him, by the way, if that continues, it's very possible that could continue. And he said, well, I will grade you when it's all done about how you handle it. I said, okay, then.
It's true. I mean, it's just another one of those things in the COVID broadcasting era that no one, you deal with a lot of stuff, but not necessarily the dog in your living room.
Yeah, I think it's accepted, though, don't you? I think people get that you're going to have maybe – I saw Urban Meyer. Did you see Urban Meyer's video?
No.
He was on like some news station, what's he, Ohio State? Down
well, there. Nowhere now, but yeah.
No, yeah, true. And I don't know if he was on like a boat or in his living room. It looked like kind of a gathering. And like two guys, like shirtless, probably by the pool, are like walking by with like, I think, beers in their hands. And he's like, the camera's on him and he's going – So
yeah, it's funny remember it was a few years ago on like the BBC when the guy's daughter broke in the room and it was a viral sensation. Now that's just Tuesday. That's just every day.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of his thing now, right? I think she did it for fun this year too, the daughter. So
I mean, it was adorable. There's no getting around it.
It really is, yeah. Hopefully the dog came across the same way. I can't guarantee that, but actually I'm going to guarantee that wasn't the case. But
it was not adorable, but it was something.
Yeah, he's a good dog.
Nothing wrong with a dog.
Nothing wrong with a dog. Hey, Michael Hurley, be good, man. Be safe. Tell the family I said hello, and thanks for letting me do this here. And I know you're a busy man, so.
Well, I appreciate it. I fortunately, let's just pray for more hockey in the morning.
Yes, 11 a.m. starts. We'll take it. We're on the same page with that.
Deal. Thanks, see ya.
All right, there you go. Michael Hurley. That was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. You've seen him over the years. WBZ TV. Sports Hub. He was on Comcast back in the day. He did the Felger and Maz show all the time, if you remember that stuff. So now talking to me here from his basement in pandemic times, watching all the sports and trying to get questions out of Patrice Bergeron. So thank you, Michael Hurley. Bruins game 2 tonight. Enjoy it, folks. My name's Drew Moholland. That's it for the week. Enjoy the weekend. I think it's supposed to be nice. Cool down a little bit. No more heat wave for the weekend, and we'll see where next week is. We'll see where next week takes us when it comes to the weather and when it comes to guests, all right? My name is Drew Moholland. For my wife, Sarah Conway, who joined us earlier, we appreciate that. For Michael Hurley, we will see you next time live from Drew's house. Thank you again. Bye-bye now.